Life Hurt Podcast.
Hey y'all, I am Yvette Lloyd, host of Life Hurt Podcast. I know y'all haven't seen me in a while, but y'all be all right. But we have Kim Wilson with us tonight, and this conversation is going to be very informative, and it's about stepping into your purpose. And with it being a new year, I thought this interview will be great to start off everything that you have planned for your future. And stepping into your purpose is very important. And Kim is gonna get us right to it. She ain't gonna cut no corners, nothing. She gonna tell you like it is. Hey Kim.
Hey, how are you? I'm excited about being here.
I'm excited too. This is amazing because like I was saying, like from it being a start for the new year, a lot of people are stepping into their purpose or they still trying to find it.
Mhm.
So this is amazing for it. So off top first, can we get to know you a lot more?
Of course, I'm Kim Wilson. I'm nurse owner operator of a multi six-figure healthcare agency, serial entrepreneur, and just what you see is what you get. Just me, my true authentic self.
I know that's right. So how long have you been in the healthcare business?
I've been in the healthcare business 30 years now, but I've been a nurse for 16.
Wow, that is amazing. So what got you step into your purpose of becoming a nurse?
Basically, at the age of 5 years old, somehow I just knew that I was supposed to be a nurse. I remember being outside with my grandmother who raised me, just kind of drawing in the sand and saying, well, grandma, when I grow up, I'm going to, be a nurse. And she just started instilling then to, always work hard, always be consistent and persistent in what you do. And I could be or do anything that I wanted to do.
Wow. So what encouraged you to become a healthcare agency owner?
My love for people. So with the healthcare agency in the nursing field, to me, it was limited on my control of what I could do and couldn't do. So I wanted to experience care and do care on my terms.
Wow. And that's what I figured because when you go into the because a lot of people do things and coincide, but however, they still want to do more, especially when it comes to helping people in that field because you see that they really need extra mile of work.
Yes, I love people. So that's what also led me to come out and want to be a speaker because I want to see a lot of people self improve and just be who they are. And if they weren't who they are at the moment, allow the process and, allow yourself to self improve to become who you are meant to be. Because once you get where you are meant to be and who you're meant to be, it is a great feeling and a great thing.
Yes, it definitely is. It's just the fact of us just finally feeling free from other burdens that we carried over the years. And when we in our purpose, it's like, like,
Yes.
yes.
And you definitely have to embrace the shift a lot when you're stepping into your purpose. And when I say embrace the shift, that means accept the shift of losing friends, losing family, embracing the shift of manifesting the things that you manifested and accepting those things as they come in and how they come in. And always knowing that you are enough. So whatever you go through when you're shifting, the transitions, the feelings of loneliness, you think you're being lonely or whatever, just embrace every little thing that comes your way when you're making that shift and you're stepping into purpose.
Yes, that is so true. The especially the part when you say you lose friends. Not only that you lose friends, you lose family too.
You
Cause,
do.
'cause, when you find your purpose, you find your boundaries and you notice certain things that they've been doing for years that you didn't know that you were tolerating the mental abuse, the verbal abuse, and different things like that. And when you find your purpose, you find yourself eliminating things that trigger you. Did you find yourself doing that as well?
I definitely did. So when in my phase of transition, especially the last year, God put me by myself. And usually that's what he does. And at first I was confused with being lonely versus being alone versus being lonely. And so
Right.
he brought me to a place now that I understand. He put me alone to make me and to mold me into who I am today and who I needed to be able to go out and make the impact into the world that he wants me to make.
Yes. And how did that feel when you just start being like, okay, Kim?
Girl, it felt great. It felt like a burden was lifted off my shoulder. Like you said, I felt free. And it's like it's like you know that you're in the world and you're existing and everything around you is existing, but everything is on your terms because
Yes.
you have these boundaries of what you're going to accept and not accept and what you're going to do and what you're not going to do.
Yes, that is so true. So, a lot of people know, yes, you are a nurse and you are a business owner of a six-figure business and everything, but a lot of people don't know the things that you've been through to
Okay.
get to where you are at today. So, can we rewind the back times when you didn't have your mother and your father and you end up being raised by your grandmother in a small home, urinating in a bucket, pouring it out in the cotton field and everything. Could you elaborate more on that so people know that you have your purpose now?
Yes. So just like you said, I was born into poverty, raised by my grandmother. Both parents were absent. And that experience today I call the pail experience. And the pail experience is basically it's a state of being, a psychological place. And it's a place of pain, disconnect, loneliness. And it's this place where you just don't feel like you. And it can come from anything that doesn't make us feel like who we are or who we think we should be. And because of that pill experience, I suffered anxiety, depression, not feeling worthy. You know, anything that could make you feel bad about yourself or make you be like totally down on yourself, I felt all of those emotions. And like you said, I used the bathroom in a bucket. And we definitely had to take it out to the field and empty that bucket. And so the pill experience is not necessarily the bucket that got me, it's the experiences that surrounded the bucket. And
Yeah.
that's what took the mental, it took all that mental stuff on me.
Yes, because not only you wasn't just living with your grandmother, you was living with other families too.
Mhm.
Was it what you said? Was it a two-bedroom home?
3.
Three-bedroom home with a lot of people. So that's dealing with a lot of emotions. Or
Mhm.
maybe you see your cousins with their parents and you wish you were with yours. Just dealing with a lot of those emotions and knowing you really just have your grandmother.
Mhm. And my mom had me when she was 14. So,
Oh,
and I was kind of young myself. But, as I grew older, I've always known who she was because my grandmother made me aware of who she was. My mom would come around, but, it was just not that relationship because she was still young. But
right.
yeah, so my grandmother raised me, and how can I explain this? It's kind of like even though my mom wasn't there and my grandmother raised me, I still had the parental guidance, somebody to push me and inspire me and to say you can do whatever it is you want to do.
Wow.
So I was
So
loved.
could you tell me more about the disconnection and the isolation and emptiness that you were feeling throughout the years of your life?
Okay, so with the disconnect and the loneliness and the isolation, basically it's kind of like an alter ego thing.
Yeah.
Yes, where you there you go. Where I knew I was here. I knew I was here physically, but then it felt
Mhm.
like I was over here, like I left my body literally. And
Mhm.
I would look in the mirror and stuff at myself sometimes physically and say, okay, I know you're Kim Wilson, but who are you really? Who are you? What is it about you that make you you? And at those times I couldn't figure it out because my judgment and everything was so clouded with, like I said, not being with my parents and just feeling lonely and not knowing where I belonged in the world because like you said earlier, everybody else had their parents.
Yeah.
So it was like they had extra protection, from the world, from the outside world.
Yes. So, with you not having your parents and being raised by your grandmother, how, as you got older, how did your love life go? Because sometimes when you date a man, you look for protection, you look for certain things, and you will tolerate certain things when you really shouldn't.
Of course, I made bad choices. Of course, I did. Because 9 times out of 10, if your dad is not in the home, of course, you start to cater towards men because you're
Yeah,
looking for your dad in the men.
right,
And then, as far as like, your mom, you just need her there to know what she knows as a woman, to teach you what she knows as a woman.
right,
So I did make bad decisions and stuff when it came to, uh, like in a relationship, friends,
right,
a romantic relationships, just in a relationship, because I was looking for something that I was missing, even though I didn't know really what it was I was missing. I just knew it was something that I was looking for. So in my search in society, I started trying to fill that void, whatever that void was.
right. Because a lot of times when I have some friends, they were raised by their grandparents.
Mhm.
So, grandparents, they done raised their children already. They done did everything. So they can't teach you much on what's going on in the world of today, of wherever you were at a certain age. So I know you had to venture out and learn a lot on your own. So when you were venturing out learning on your own, how did that feel when you had your first like bad experience and you have to really learn from different lessons?
Honestly, it felt horrible because at this point, I just felt like I just had me. And I felt like
Right.
even as a child, I didn't want to, somehow as a child, I just felt like I didn't want to put my burdens on somebody else. I didn't want to make somebody else feel bad for a decision that I made, even though I wasn't fully capable of making the right decisions. I
Right.
still put myself for the decision. So at an early age, I was taking accountability for
That's
whatever I did.
that's great. So speaking of accountability, have noticed that you have a pyramid.
Mhm,
And your pyramid is actually you acknowledging things.
mhm.
So within that pyramid, you acknowledging pain and admitting things that we usually don't admit. What made you create something like that to help other people?
Okay, I created that because actually that same process is what helped me get out of poverty. So
Okay.
it's called the ACTS process. And there's 4 steps, just like it says, the ACTS. And that first step is to acknowledge. So I did acknowledge where I was living, the environment that I was living in here, in my mind, was not where I wanted to be. So I had to acknowledge that first. Then I, you know, carefully, objectively look at myself as a whole and said, okay, Kim, what is it about you that you think you don't like? What is it about you that you do like? What is it about you that you can't control that you can't control out there?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. Then I started to say, okay, once I figured that out, I said, now it's time to take responsibility. So then I started taking the responsibility of if I signed up for school, if I, went out for a certain job, if I allowed people to speak to me a certain way or treat me a certain way. Then
Mm-hmm.
at the end, I set goals. And that's how I became a nurse. I started setting goals along the way of coming out of high school, already knowing that I wanted to be a nurse, already knowing that I wanted to be in the medical field. And like you said earlier, not really knowing how to do it because there wasn't like that constant guidance, yeah,
Yeah.
to show me. So it was just like, figure it out. So at first I went to school and I became a medical assistant first. And then after I worked in the doctor's office for a period of time, I was like, wait a minute. Now you said you were going to go be a nurse. You're getting paid less, but the nurses are doing less.
Yes.
So from that day forward, I decided to go ahead. I got my nursing license, started practicing as a nurse. And while I was practicing as a nurse, believe it or not, I actually knew that I wasn't going to be a full-time nurse long. I knew that I was going to be PRN because I've always had like this entrepreneur spirit, even as a child. So I knew I wanted to branch out. I didn't want somebody telling me what to do, how to do it, how to run it, how to treat this person, or how to guide this person. I didn't want any of that. I want
Wow.
to just be me and show people who I was and what I was capable of bringing to the table when it comes to them.
Yeah, because what I've noticed by looking at different things, the exercises that you do have, I'm like, I wonder how long did she do this with herself to actually just be like, oh, I know for a fact this gonna help people, so I'm about to put this out here.
Well, somehow I figured if I used that same process and it brought me out of poverty
Yes.
and me being without my parents and living on a pail and using the bathroom on a pail, I was like, now, if I got through this and this
Mm-hmm.
process helped me, then I can take the same process and let other people know that they are capable too. But you have to follow the process.
Yes. Yes, I could tell you're very passionate about it, and I appreciate people like you
Thank
because sometimes it's hard to find someone that's actually passionate on what they do, and I got that from looking at it because I'm looking like, man, I'm like, this woman did her thing with this.
you.
I was like, go on, Kim.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Seriously. So in that process, when did you go to therapy?
Honestly, I'm still in therapy today, not because I'm not better, but because I want to continue to be better. And I
Yeah.
understand that in order to be my best and in order to continue to become who I am, that helps. So I always recommend to people that see a therapist. And a lot of people think that, oh, you're crazy if you're going to a therapist and you need to go.
Mhm.
But that's not the truth. You go to therapy for different things, and it doesn't make you crazy. It just makes you better.
It does. It does. You will realize how much you could accomplish by going to therapy because it's like when you release something that was actually hurting you within, because a lot of us take internal pain and a lot of us had that pain carrying within ourselves for so long it we become immune to it and don't know it exists until someone triggered that moment. So when you actually release it and you continue to go forward, you be like, man,
Hmm.
I was this all I had to
Hmm.
do.
Yes. I mean, girl, when
Yeah.
you're carrying that burden, it feels so heavy. You're always
Yes.
having headaches. You're always tensed up in the shoulders and all kind of stuff.
Yes.
So, when I finally released all that stuff, I was like, wait a minute, is this what I was missing? I was like, oh, I don't
Mhm.
ever want to go back there. Because, in my mind, I'm thinking, I take care of people every single day. I want to see the best in people. I want people to be fine mentally and physically. And then I started realizing, but you're neglecting yourself.
Girl, listen. I already know. I already know. And it's like we neglect ourselves so much because a lot of us that are givers, we're people pleasers. And
Mm-hmm.
we don't be people pleasers purposely. It's just a part of the process when you are so busy giving to others, wanting to see
Mm-hmm.
them smile, wanting to see them
Mm-hmm.
just be able to do something for someone after you've been through a lot. It's the best
Mm-hmm.
feeling in the world.
It
But it's like
is, but
you can't keep giving nothing to them if you can't give to yourself.
yes. So, like you said, at some point, like you said, that's a boundary that you have to break. You have
Yes.
to break. It's okay to give, like you said, but don't give so much of yourself. You don't have anything left for you, or nobody is giving to you what you're giving to them. So it has to be reciprocated. It has to
Mhm.
even out. It can't just be, oh, I'm all worn down and tired because I've given all of me to, these people over
Mhm.
here. And now I'm just wore out.
Yeah, and we will drag ourselves to the end too.
I'm guilty of it. Trust me, I'm guilty. I am so guilty of, you could be really, at one point in my life, I would be really, really exhausted. But if someone would call and say, well, oh, Kim, can you do this? And I'm like, sure. But then my body is saying, why didn't you say no? You should
Mm-hmm.
have said no. And then you're beating yourself up because you want to do the right thing because of who you are, but
Yes.
you're getting the short end of it.
Yep, you tearing yourself apart.
Yes. Just
Man.
tearing yourself all up.
Yes, definitely. So how far and what other things do you have planned for you to teach people to step into their purpose? Because I know you are a speaker and everything, but what are you going to do as far as if somebody want a one-on-one consultation with you or something that you could help them understand who they are?
So I am building some more products based off of ads, and
That's
that's going to be like a step-by-step process to lead from where they are in the ads. Also, I'm going to be doing workshops. I'm going to have events and stuff that's going to be based around ads and telling them how to use it to better themselves. And of course, also I'll have the one-on-one coaching if they decide to do that. And all of that stuff will go through my publicist, Desiree L. Benson. They would have to
okay.
contact her.
Okay, that is amazing. I'm really proud of you, just even seeing the different things that you've done so
Thank you.
far. And I can imagine what 2023 about to be for you.
Oh yeah, girl, I'm about to blow it up.
You know, I already know you are. So, one of my favorite questions that you had was what are ways you can channel your discontentment into an immediate positive action? That part right there, that's a mouthful of a question because you are speaking of a positive action and a lot of times people don't recognize the positive within themselves that we always look for negative stuff and down talk ourselves.
Mhm.
So what are ways that you can help someone with that question when they're answering that?
The main thing I try to do is basically meet them where they are.
Oh yeah.
And by meeting them where they are, it allows them to feel open and to feel free and to feel comfortable with
Yeah.
telling me things. And then once they do that, then it paves the way for me to be able to come in and start to set the process to get them into purpose.
That's what I'm talking about. For real, because a question like I'm telling you, a question like that is really is deep for real.
Mhm.
Because that's something you really have to sit and like process because a lot of people really probably wouldn't know how to answer it. And for you to actually meet where they at,
Mhm.
they might as well go on back to the first question.
It's true. And I think what helped me
Seriously.
a lot too is just like you said, being a giver all my life with a big heart, and then also like all of the experience in the medical field.
Mm-hmm.
Just taking that and thinking how I worked with each individual person that had different problems. So I had to meet each one of those people where they were and bring them up to a place of wellness. So it's the same thing. It's just with the patients, I did mental and physical. But
Yeah.
with out here in society, it's more mental.
Yeah, it is. And you know what's so crazy? When I was looking at some of the stuff, I'm like, she a business owner. Girl, how you dealing with staff?
Well, honestly, I have been blessed. My
Ooh, that's
daughter helps me,
good.
actually helps me in the office, but God has truly blessed me with great employees.
Ooh, that's a blessing.
It really is. I have some great employees. Now, do I have a hard time getting some people to come in and work? Of
Of
course,
course.
everybody is.
Yeah.
But the staff I have now, oh no, I wouldn't trade them for the world.
That is a true blessing because you know what with you in the line of business like that, and then you're a nurse, and then you helping people, then you're coaching people, like you advance to the 10th power for real, because you
Well,
dealing
thank
with
you.
but seriously, because you deal with so much stuff. And like a lot of people really don't understand that when you so invested in something and you have many years doing something like that, you could read a person without them speaking.
Yes, you can. That's definitely one thing that I've been able to do, throughout my childhood and growing up. And I know that, and when I was a child, somehow I felt like, oh God, why me? Because you're younger and you don't want to feel those emotions. But then
Yeah.
as I got older, I started recognizing, wait a minute, this is a blessing. So now I can feel this person's energy and that person's energy. So I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to use this to my advantage. And
Yes.
like you say, so it's really easy for me to tell who you are even before you open your mouth. You can just walk in the room and I'm like, oh, okay, I don't want to deal with her.
Seriously, it really be like that, because I have a daycare and a janitorial company.
Oh, congratulations, girl.
So thank you. So when I interview people, I actually, you could feel the energy already. You know how
Yeah,
to be. However, what I've learned is how you set the tone, that's how the tone gonna be.
exactly.
So
Like,
I've met people that that come in with a different type of energy, and you be like, oh man, this is about to
yes,
be something else. So you gotta loosen up people, because a lot of people are not used to welcoming individuals.
that's true.
So what I've learned is, mom's my spirit cool, it's gonna go all right.
Exactly. I agree 100%.
Yeah. And eventually people get comfortable, because a lot of times, like even with you going into culture and everything, a lot of people come in with trust issues.
They do. And then, like I said, that's when I mostly meet them where they are and allow them to break their own ice, to allow them to tell me what they want to tell me, even if it's a bit by bit. Because
Yeah.
eventually they're going to see and notice that they can trust me and I really am there for them. And it's okay to feel free and to let go in that space.
Wow. That is amazing that you're doing that, because it's very rare. It's
Mhm.
very rare. And with you being so seasoned in so much stuff, it'll make someone very comfortable to even come to you with anything. And like that's rare too.
It is. It is very rare. So I just I just try to be my true authentic self and tell people what you see is really what you get.
Yes, I was talking to one of my friends, and I said I believe this is the season for authentic people.
It is. I
Um
think so.
yeah, I feel like a lot of people are now ready to tell their truth and receive the truth,
Mhm.
because
Yeah. Yeah.
a lot of times people don't like to hear the truth on where they're at mentally, physically, and emotionally and spiritually in their lives.
Mhm.
But for you to heal and for you to prosper in life and walk into your purpose, as you say, you have to hear the truth about yourself and release some things to move forward.
And to, piggyback on that, what during my transition and in the process of continuing to transition, I went to God and asked God to show me who I thought I was versus who I really was.
Ooh.
And girl, when he started showing me stuff, it wasn't anything like horrible, but things that I didn't realize I was doing. When he started showing me, I was like, huh, you sure I was doing that? And then I said, oh no, no, that was not right. I started telling myself it wasn't right. And
Probably
so
like,
then,
what you got going on, Kim?
yeah, because when you're so binded down with
Yes.
stress and the burdens of the world, sometimes people will say things that they're not trying to be offensive, but you're already just having your guards up and you just say things that you wouldn't normally say. or do things that you wouldn't normally do. So in my transition, I didn't realize I was doing some of that. I just felt like I was standing up for me because enough was enough, and I knew that I wasn't setting boundaries. I knew that I was this giver and, never getting back. And honestly, I just got fed up with it. So then I just started, like, I guess you can say, retaliating. I guess, but I was doing it with maybe some of the wrong people. It was just like anybody that came my way got it. And, if I felt that they were trying to be funny with me.
That's not about me.
Mm-hmm.
That's not about me.
When you started telling me, I was like, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. I was like, no, you got to do something. And then, when he was telling me, I'm not going to lie, I felt so bad because I was like, really, Kim, you were really saying these things. You were really not trying to hear what the other person was saying because you were so hurt most of your life. You just didn't want to hear anything because at this point, when you're hurting like that and there's no trust, you don't trust anybody. You just feel like everybody is out to get something. But then the ones you gave to, and then sometimes those were the ones you didn't need to be given to, but you didn't see it because you was just so blinded.
That is so true. What is like one of your experiences when you have given so much to someone? Sure, even a lot of people really, and they just up and be the first ones to hurt you and betray you.
Girl, that's the most hurtful thing ever. Like you said, you
It
just feel
is.
betrayed. You just feel like, you start blaming yourself to a point. You start saying, how could I be so stupid to not see this coming? How could I just, have kept giving and giving and that person never gave anything? But you start, you basically just go in the corner and cry and feel sorry for yourself and pray to get over it and just learn from it and say, well, okay, this will never happen again because I'm not going to put myself in the position to where I'm giving so much that I'm not noticing they're not being equally given.
Yeah, that's true. What I've learned is I just give on my terms.
Me too. Boundaries.
Yeah, I give on my terms now. I don't. I for a while. I want to be selfish now.
Me too.
I want to be selfish for me. I want to do things for me. I'm just putting me first because a lot of times when I've done so much, it's like after a while, it's like you did nothing at all and they act like you've done nothing. And then it's the entitlement that comes with it.
Yes.
And feeling like you were obligated to do that. That's what you're supposed to do for me.
Yes.
Wait, what? I didn't like the feeling of it. So now I'd rather give to someone randomly who I don't know compared to someone I know. And I'd rather not give to a person I have a relationship with compared to a person who I will probably never see again.
I totally agree. I totally agree. I've always given to like certain organizations like Breast Cancer Awareness, American Heart Association, and stuff like that. But like you said, it's gotten to the point now. I'm just going to tell the truth. Like you said, I'm selfish.
Yeah.
I'm selfish with myself, my time, my energy, my everything that comes to me. I am now selfish with it.
Yeah.
Because I had to be that way because I was giving too much of me that there was nothing left for me.
Yeah.
So in that process, like you said, we lose who we are because we're so busy giving and giving and giving. And the person is just accepting and accepting and accepting, but not returning that same energy. So like you said, I'm selfish. I'm very selfish. I'm not going to lie when it comes to me loving myself, being who I am, setting boundaries. That's where the selfish part comes in. But the me wanting to just see everybody do well, want everybody to get a piece of the pie, the cake. I'm just so excited for everybody because once you set yourself free and you realize who you are and what you are, that is the best feeling in the world because then you realize you can do whatever you want to do. There's no boundaries. There's nothing getting in the way. The only thing that would be stopping you is you.
You. Yes, that is so true. What about um while you were stepping into your purpose, what about how your friends felt as you continue to elevate into your
To,
purpose?
to be honest, most of my friends are entrepreneurs and nurses themselves.
God is good.
So yeah, so they kind of like, yeah, go Kim, I'm here for you. If you need me anyway, I'm here like with my home health agency. A bunch of my nurse colleagues would say, once you go out of town and you're speaking, oh, don't worry, we got your back here. So
I know
that stuff makes me feel good.
that, and that's a blessing because a lot of times people find themselves elevating up, and then they friends, if they still there, you know, sometimes the disconnection starts.
And
And it's best for you to actually be surrounded by like-minded individuals
amen.
like how you have right now.
Mhm. And I think the pill experience, like all that being lonely and feeling lonely and all that stuff, and just being alone all my life, it was easier to limit myself to certain people because to me, I've always been by myself anyway. So
Right.
so it was just easier, like you said, to not get certain friends. Not and if I did have some that wasn't entrepreneurs or weren't in a certain career path, I just let them be them. I met them where they were,
Right.
and I'll tell them, look, you are who you are, and I am who I am. I'm going to meet you where you are, but unfortunately, I can't stay there with you. I would love for you to come up here with me, but that has to be your choice on whether
Yeah.
you come up here with me. And it doesn't make me better than anybody because I'm not. It just means
Right.
that I did the work to
Yep.
self-improve.
Exactly. And you can help them after so far because it's their purpose and not yours.
Exactly.
You can't hold a hand and do it all for them because it has nothing to do with you. It just has more or less something to do with them. They have to push just like you're pushing to get where you at today.
Exactly. Everybody has a purpose. You might not know what it is at first, but if you really sit in yourself and you do the work, your purpose, God will send your purpose to you. And when you
Yeah.
realize that all you have to do is to start to set the goals and be
Yeah.
specific on what it is you want to do, when you want to have it done, how are you going to get it done, and where are you going to get it done?
Ain't that the truth? That is so true. So, could you tell me about, I think it was like the last portion you were saying, like the process of discovery.
Mhm. So when I say discovering yourself, it's kind of like what we were saying earlier, where you have to really sit with yourself and literally be by yourself, because then you start to really know who you are from whom you thought you were. You start to know and learn and feel the good sides of you, as well as those sides that we're not too happy about. So all of it is self-discovery. But once you put the bad stuff and the good stuff together, then it becomes you. And then you've discovered really who you are. And you've learned how to control certain things about yourself that you may like or may not like. So then in turn, you discovered who you were and you learned how to go out into society and be productive.
That that was the whole point of that. I, I thought that would be like a great ending to something because to this whole interview because of a lot of people don't really strategically think about the discovery of their purpose. And the way you just put it, it was like perfectly said because a lot of us don't know where to start at. It's just the starting is the hardest part.
It is. It really
It's
is because, like you said, with me starting a healthcare agency and stuff, I knew I wanted to do it. But like I said, while actively being a nurse goes back to setting goals, I knew what I wanted to do and I was specific on what I want to do, the time frame and all that good stuff. So while practicing as a nurse, I started just doing the research on what kind of insurance did I need, whether it was workman's comp, general liability, you know, What kind of experience would I need to have under my belt in order to run this company? Could I do this myself, or would I have to hire somebody else to do it? Stuff like that. You got to look at like your overhead and stuff like that in the process. Yes.
Whole nother interview. Yes, that is so true. So how can someone get in contact with you and utilize your services, or even just can check out your ebooks or anything that you have?
Okay. My publicist, you can reach her at Desiree L. Benson, and she's the one that will book me for like any speaking engagements and stuff like that. You can reach me at www.thekimwilson.com. And by the way, if you go to the top of my webpage, there's a link up there that says the X. If you click on the X process, you can actually get the first step of my 4-step process free. And I would like for you to follow me at Step Into Purpose Instagram and Step Into Purpose Facebook.
Okay, that is great. That is great. I really enjoyed this interview with you.
I did too.
It was
a pleasure.
Yes, it was definitely a pleasure. The vibe is perfect.
Yes, girl, we knew that before we got on. When I saw your face, I was like, "Oh yeah, she good."
Yes. Yes, indeed. So thank you so much for being on my podcast show.
Thank you.
Thank you. I really appreciate you. And thank you everyone for tuning in, and just continue to watch Life Her Podcast Elevate this season coming up, which is season 4. And we got some good stuff coming, y'all. So thank you. Have a blessed night.
You too.
Good night.